All right, GM everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry for the delayed start. Hopefully the audio is all good. So please let me know at the chat if the audio is all good. GM to everyone. So please let me know in the chat if it is working and the audio is okay. Set up in Norway, which is pretty crazy. So thank you for tuning in. I'm just making sure it's all good. I do have a few internet problems. So if I do drop out or the audio is a bit rubbish, please let me know in the chat section. So please, GM to everyone. Obviously, it's been a while since I've been on stream, and there's so much to catch up on in the markets, but I will do a quick, probably 30-minute recap stream today about what I'm looking at. Obviously, we just had insane news. BTC just hit $59,500, which is just so crazy, and it's just amazing to see. And I'll pull up that chart very shortly. But obviously, if you are new here, guys, please subscribe. Please like the video, whether you're watching here on X or whether you are here on YouTube as well. It does support me and it helps me grow as a content creator, and I really do appreciate it. And obviously, if you're here, please let me know in the chat, say GM, but also ask me any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them. Hopefully the internet plays nicely with me. I'll have to get in and out of tabs along the stream. But let me know in the stream chat if you have any questions at all, and I'll be sure to answer them within the next half an hour or so. All right, so let's look at the charts, guys. We'll start off with BTC. So if you have a look here, this is just an insane breakout from around that $42,000 to $43,000 region. Obviously, we're looking, this orange line over here is the expected halvening. So I've got BTC chart on there twice. Let's get rid of that. So if we have a look here, guys, we're at 59,300, which is just crazy. We haven't hit 60,000 since about November 2021. So I'm super bullish on BTC. I would expect some consolidation, but it's so hard to predict because this cycle is the cycle of all cycles. We've got people actually wanting to buy the token and hold it for 5 years, 1 year, 30 years, 50 years, whatever it is. And I think that is why we are seeing such a huge breakout before the expected halving. And I do think, and I did say this at the start of January with Craig on a live stream, that I do think potentially BTC could hit an all-time high before the halving. So the halving is still about, 2 months away. So I do think that we do have potential for it to reach up here. But after these huge candles here, I do think we need to calm down a little bit soon and obviously have a bit of a consolidation period on BTC. But this is great to see. Obviously, if we zoom in on the daily, it's even more crazy. Like if we have a look here, look at the strength here. Like you could have traded this, that breakout there from 52 to 55. And obviously now we're at 59. And we honestly stayed at 57 for about less than 24 hours. So great to see that the market is pumping. ETH's obviously been pumping quite a lot as well. This is on the daily chart. But as you can see here, we consolidate it. And then we have broken up. Really interesting. And we'll look at a few charts shortly about the comparison between ETH versus BTC, ETH versus Sol, Sol versus BTC, because those are the top three tokens that a lot of us own and that I think a lot of us are trying to make gains in the next year or the next year and a half. So if you look here, guys, ETH, obviously, this is playing out on a weekly. If you did long ETH way back here at 1900 or 2000, you would be up quite considerably. And I do think that ETH obviously has a bit more sort of return to its all-time high compared to BTC. So it's great to see ETH sort of catching up. Obviously, ETH has a huge NFT marketplace that has really started to heat up more recently, and we'll talk about that later in the stream. Obviously, some other news that we'll talk about is some upcoming mints. So that's a PNB mint on Ordinals on BTC, and obviously we've got Portal Coin dropping literally in the next 2 days. So that's pretty exciting as well. And we'll talk about the injection of liquidity that will do for the ecosystem. But please let me know if you have anything else you'd like me to cover. I'll just do a sort of general wrap of the whole crypto markets around NFTs, Memecoins, altcoins, and the whole sort of gist of what I kind of feel and where we are in this cycle. And we are certainly a lot earlier than I expected to be. And that's because we're seeing so much liquidity move into the market from the ETH sort of narrative of the ETFs. Okay, so people are trying to buy up ETH and buy up BTC in anticipation of the ETH ETF being approved in the next couple of months. But obviously the BTC ETFs are currently trading and they are seeing insane volume every single day. And that's what's keeping us so bullish at the moment. So if we look at a few more charts, guys, so ETH has still got a long way to go. I think ETH obviously might see a bit of resistance at the 3,500 level, but obviously the next sort of resistance is around that 4K level, which is just crazy to think about. We're in February. I did not think we would be this bullish in this time period. So if we have a look here, guys, this chart is very important for me. This is BTC versus ETH. And if you do look here, we have found support at that 0.052% level. We look like we have a change of structure. So a change of structure, as you can see here, is lower high, lower high, lower high, and lower lows. Okay, but if you look here, we found consolidation around that level, and we're starting to set lower, higher lows. Okay, so that's showing me that there is potential of a change here, and that maybe BTC starts to slow down as ETH starts to speed up. So that's very interesting because a lot of people do like to try and time whether they hold more BTC or whether they like to hold more ETH. So it's very interesting here, and I'm watching this with a lot of sort of anticipation that it might be a good time to start thinking about flipping some bags into ETH again. Obviously, I like to keep track of the whole market in terms of BTC versus ETH and Sol as well, but also Sol versus ETH, and we will look at that chart very shortly. But this is very interesting because we might consolidate here maybe for the next month or so leading up to the halvening, and then maybe BTC, in my opinion, BTC maybe still outperforms ETH, but right now I'm looking at this chart and ETH could outperform over the next 6 months. So if we do look at the dominance, okay, we are seeing that BTC dominance is again consolidating around this period of around 54% for quite a long time. So we have a lot of upside here. I do think that we do test that 58% level. Once we start reaching that sort of territory, which we haven't seen for a very long time. So 2020 is the last time we saw levels like this. I do think that this might be a good time to maybe rotate into some more riskier or more upside potential plays. So whether that's Ethereum, whether that's NFTs on these blockchains, so whether that's Solana NFTs, or whether it's other low cap altcoins, which is what I've started to look for as the liquidity starts to go down from BTC, down into the top alt, and then down into the low cap gems, because that's where the money can be made really quickly later in the cycle. But really interestingly, I do still think BTC hits 100K easily. I think my target is 150K minimum for this cycle. I do think that it could have the potential to run up to over 200 if everything goes to plan. And obviously, we're seeing that rate hikes in Australia, in the US are coming down. It's been priced in, and maybe that's why we're rallying so hard now, is because it's quite risk on assets in terms of the stock market, but also BTC. So again, I think there's a lot at factor in a macroeconomic sense that's leading to this absolute insane pump to nearly 60K. And I do think maybe BTC hit some 60K levels today. And if we do look here, guys, this is CME, which is crazy. So CME actually might touch 60K very shortly live on stream. So that's really cool to see. But CME, obviously it doesn't trade over the weekend, but it's trading nearly close to its all-time high, okay, already. But obviously it's nearly at that 60K level. So really interestingly, okay, so let's look at Sol versus ETH. Now, this is obviously a chart that I did post recently on the timeline, but if you do look here, guys, you can see that it has broken down. We are maybe testing this level here as support. So this is Sol versus ETH. So in other words, if this goes up, Solana outpaces ETH. If it goes down, it means that ETH is outpacing Solana. So Solana obviously had that insane tear, as you can see here, from around September all the way up to December. So that's about a 3-month pump. It's no wonder that we are starting to consolidate, and obviously that ETH is starting to catch up too. We have seen that the Blast token and the Blast sort of blockchain and that whole narrative is really starting to heat up ETH again. And NFTs on Ethereum have started to run. You think about a Pudgy ecosystem, that's pumped so much. The Creeps ecosystem's pumped a lot. And obviously there's a whole range that we can look at later in the stream. But as you can see here, guys, it's no surprise that maybe Solana did need to cool off in terms of comparison to ETH, but also just in general. So that's what I'm looking at for Solana versus ETH. I'd wait for this to consolidate, and then maybe I do like to maybe think about adding some of my BTC back into my Solana. But it's a really interesting play because for me, I now start to look at something like BTC as something like a 10 to 20 to 30 year hold for me, and maybe into retirement, because I do think that that outpaces any other investment in my life at this point in time. Okay, so it's very interesting about whether I like to take profits in all of my crypto holdings, or whether I maybe just hold my BTC for longer term gains, and maybe I get out of all my alts. And I don't know, these are things that we'll talk about later in the year as we start to really hit some high numbers. Now let's look at Solana versus BTC, very similar to ETH here as well. So this is again why I've been more bullish on BTC more recently, and been probably speaking about it a bit more on my timeline as well, because we are starting to see that it's taking a lot of the thunder. The BTC dominance is up. It's obviously charging towards 60K as we speak, but again, Solana needed to cool off after that insane tear from September all the way through to nearly January, you could say. And as you can see here, it's also coming down. So we might see a bit of support for both Solana versus ETH and Solana versus BTC very soon, maybe in the next couple of weeks. But I would like to see if that does hold, that's where I become more bullish on Solana again. And that's when I start to look at those potential opportunities, not only on Solana DeFi, but obviously in the tokens on Solana, and then obviously the NFTs on Solana, because they will start to outpace again, because Solana is that Ethereum narrative from last cycle. And Ethereum did a 20x. Solana is definitely going to do more than a 20x this cycle, and it has already done quite a considerable return. So that's what I'm looking at there. I am probably in the short term more bullish on BTC versus Solana. If we look at Ethereum versus BTC, I'm probably hedging my bets that I think ETH might start to cook against BTC at the moment. So that's really cool to see. And obviously with the ETF narrative as well, we start to see that it might start to really pump moving into the next couple of months as we await that sort of confirmation that that is actually going to go ahead. And again, I don't see why it's not going to go ahead, because BTC has been approved and sort of markets worldwide are really enthusiastic about buying BTC and obviously Ethereum. And then from there, maybe we start to see altcoins start to run, particularly AVAX, particularly Solana, because we might see that those start to maybe have interest in a ETF altcoin sort of played, maybe moving into 2025 and 2026. So that's really interesting for me. But let's look at the charts. So obviously we're seeing that not only does Solana maybe not outpace ETH and BTC in the short term, but it still can pump, guys. And that's what's really important, that perhaps it will pump over time and probably outplay BTC. Solana is what I'm speaking about, sorry. And as you can see here, it's up 5% for the day, but BTC is only up 4%. So in the short term, it does probably outpace, but over the long term, on the charts as we just looked at, it looks like Solana is probably playing out a little bit slower, which is cool, okay, for me. And as we can see here, I could probably redraw this as we are live here on stream. We could be starting to look at a breakout here. So if I was looking at this and the market's really starting to cool off, I would love to see this level for Solana at 115. If we can bounce above that, so let's draw it. So if we can bounce above that, hold that level and pump up here with an increase of volume down the bottom here, then I would long Solana. However, a lot of people are starting to think about shorts because BTC has pumped so much. Like it's pumped like nearly 12K in the past couple of weeks. So that's pretty crazy. But in terms of the liquidity that's in the market. But if we have a look here, guys, if we fail to hold this level for Solana, we break back into that level, I would actually be looking to short that there and set that as my stop loss up the top and short this way back down to maybe that $80 level. Obviously, that's quite aggressive. But again, this is a market that we are very early for, so perhaps we might break out a little bit later in the year. But if you do look at this, guys, that's what I'm looking at. I'm either looking for it to hold this level and bounce here for a long, okay, on Solana, or we break this level, we break back inside, we retest the top at 115, 120, and then I look to short back towards maybe this liquidity here. We've obviously got a lot of liquidity over here between sort of 180, but potentially we could go all the way back down to about 75. And again, I would short it, and then I would look to maybe transfer some funds from BTC into Solana if we hit those 80 levels. That's a generational buying opportunity, because if you look at Solana, guys, too, if you can catch Solana from around $80, so if we look at $80, so if we can catch Solana back from $80, that's still a 2.5, nearly 3.5x, okay? So plenty of upside still for Solana, in my opinion. So that's what I'm looking at in the short term. All right, so if we look at some other plays, obviously Say is another one that's super informative at the moment. Super layer one pumping. And obviously, if we look here, guys, in 1 week, look at this chart. So again, we're starting to see some really crazy bullish charts, which is good to see, but it's not going to sustain long term. So we do like to maybe look at some short-term shorts if we can actually look at that as well. So watch BTC, because BTC is king. So once it starts to maybe cool off, altcoins will start to catch up, and then that's when we look to maybe short the market for a little bit. But if we have a look at Say, obviously Say's got a lot of strength here as well. We're looking like we're just continuing that trend of that bullish trend. So consolidate, move up, consolidate, move up. So yeah, move up here, consolidate, move up here, consolidate, move up here, consolidate, move up again, is what I'm looking at for Say. If we look at some others, so Joe's another one on AVAX that I'm looking at. Again, we see higher lows, so higher low, and then higher low again. And this is on a macro. So I like to trade on macros. If you're looking here, we could definitely look to maybe long this. Again, I become more confident on something like Joe if it can break above this level here at about that 0.67 mark, hold it, and then move up into 2024. So that's what I'm looking at. I wouldn't be longing here just yet. You could have longed this breakout here, okay? But I've obviously missed that since I've been traveling the last couple of weeks. But if it does break up, it holds this, okay, we see a spike in volume down the bottom, then I would love to long that, okay? And very similar situation to Solana. If it breaks up here, can't hold it, but then it retests, okay, and it retests. And this is just simple range, support, and resistance trading. And if it does break up, can't hold that, retests this zone at around that 0.68, 0.67 area, and then it goes back down, I would look to short this back down towards this sort of range that we've been consolidating for a while. So around that 0.45 to 0.5 range. So that's Joe. Jupiter's one that a lot of people are in. Okay, so obviously it's a newer token. So let's look at the chart here. Again, just make sure I'm on the right tool. So let's have a look. Obviously, guys, if you want me to check out a token, please let me know in the chat and I will do that for you. But if we have a look at Jupiter, there's not much going on here, in my opinion. We're starting to maybe round out a bottom. If we do look at this pump, so we have moved down. Jupiter moved down around 36%. Traditionally, airdrops move down 50%, but obviously Jupiter has probably one of the biggest airdrops in history. And obviously being that Solana narrative, it probably is holding up a lot stronger. Okay, we've seen PIF absolutely rally since it hit that 50% low after its airdrop, and now it's rallying to an all-time high at the moment. But if we look at Jupiter here, again, I probably am more bullish on Jupiter if it can break this region here. So if it can break this level at about 0.535, and again, same sort of setup, guys. It's really simple. This is how I like to trade. If it can break this, hold this level and push up that way, we see an increase in volume like we have seen the past couple of weeks, then that's where I become more bullish on a trade longer term and holding that Jupiter back towards that sort of 0.6, 0.7 sort of region. So that's what I'm looking at. But at the moment, I'm not fully bullish just yet. I wait for this daily close to show me a bit of strength. So if it can close above these previous highs over the past couple of weeks, then that shows me that it might have more strength in the short term. But at the moment, guys, as you can see here, it's got lower lows, lower lows, lower lows. So whether this can hold and maybe change the structure. So if it can break above and sort of close up here, okay, for the next couple of days, then it shows me that it has more strength maybe in the short term to continue up higher. So that's Jupiter. Let's look at Celestia. I'll just have a quick drink, guys. So obviously, thanks for being here. Please like and subscribe if you are new. It does support me and I do appreciate it. All right, so let's have a look. So Mara, yeah, I'll jump onto Mara. Tyler, thanks for letting me know. I'll have a look at Mara. We'll have a look at some meme coins very soon. But let's keep on the altcoins for now. But Celestia has kind of considerably slowed down after an insane pump over the past sort of couple months. As you can see, if we zoom out, it's just a crazy chart. But that's good to see. Obviously, I'm staking a bit of Celestia at the moment to hopefully get some more airdrops on the dashboard on Kepler. Again, I'm looking at this for TIA, and we're looking like it needs to, we might even be breaking back down into, this is really interesting, probably a larger pattern. I would actually say that if it can hold, that's what I'm looking at for Celestia, is maybe whether it can hold this sort of region at the moment. If not, maybe it might be a good short or long opportunity depending on what the market does, probably in a broad sense. So whatever Bitcoin does, these altcoins will follow, okay? So obviously Bitcoin's pumped to about 60K as we're looking at just before. But if it can break higher, maybe push towards 65K, then these altcoins will break up higher as well. And then that's how I like to then leverage trade on those. So that's what I'm looking at for Celestia. Let's look at AVAX. So again, AVAX is consolidating here, guys. We've obviously looked at this previously with Craig. But obviously, AVAX for me is one of my top holdings. I would like it to maybe break out here. And similar to what I just said around BTC and around Celestia, if Bitcoin continues higher or sustains above 60K in the short term, then altcoins like Celestia and AVAX will pump up to follow how BTC is broken out. So if we look here, I would expect maybe AVAX to flip here. So this could be a good long trade if we're looking at it right now. So hopefully it breaks that and then breaks this level. For me is huge for AVAX. That's that 43 level. But it could break out of this triangle here, retest that, boom, up there. But obviously we're going to face a bit of resistance here because we have faced resistance here in the short term. But if we do zoom out, guys, this is quite a large area of resistance for AVAX previously. So this is why I think I might look to maybe take a long very shortly on AVAX. It will be quite a low leverage play because obviously the market has pumped quite a lot. So we might see a bit of shorts across the market soon. But if we look here, I would maybe wait for this to break out a little bit more above this level, then take the long. I would then be very curious to see whether it can break this level here around that sort of 42 level. If it does, then this absolutely sends, okay? However, if it can't, so if it does maybe break out of this short-term phase, but then it rejects off here, then obviously I'd cut the long and maybe look for a potential short. But what I'm looking at is that AVAX is consolidated for, again, a long period of time. And as you can see here, guys, it went on an absolute tear as well, up 3.6x over the past few months. So again, similar to Solana, it needed to cool off a little bit, but it's looking like it may break up bullish. So I might open along after this stream in a moment's time. So that's cool to see. Radium's another top holding for me. Again, it's one of those top, similar to Jupiter, it's one of the top plays on Solana. I do think this has a lot of upside. And as you can see here, again, same sort of play to AVAX, same sort of play to Solana. It broke up quite aggressively for the past few months. I have been DCAing slowly back into this. And as you can see here, it looks like it's sort of similar. It hasn't really found a bottom yet. We maybe could say it could find a bottom around this resistance here, support level there, as you can see on the screen at around that 0.92 level. But as you can see here, again, I might look to see if this is going to long or if this is going to short sort of market. So if we look here, again, if this looks to break down, I'd look to short it. Okay, so I'd be having a look at maybe the daily, look at the 4 hours to show me what's happening on those. If they're looking bearish, then I'd definitely look to short this. However, if it can break this level, head up here, volume kicks in, okay, then it looks like it might send a bit higher. But again, it has a lot of resistance at that sort of 1.26 level. So we'll have a look at that over the coming weeks. Some other top altcoins, IMX, again, the gaming narrative is huge for me. You can't ignore it. Okay, it was huge in 2021. It's going to be even probably bigger this time around because we actually have some actual utility happening in Web3. So that's great to see. But IMX is one of it's moved nearly into the top 20 tokens in the whole crypto market, which is just crazy to see. But good to see that this is played out quite aggressively. Again, we're starting to consolidate up here. It's no surprise that we might slow down on IMX over the coming weeks. And Beam has kind of already done that, guys, because Beam is very similar to IMX. It's one of those top gaming plays. It obviously has a DEX on it as well on AVAX. So I'm looking at this and I'm looking like it needs to probably slow down a little bit in comparison to the market. But again, don't fade the narrative. Okay, find those conviction plays and hold them. So Beam's looking like it is, again, very bullish, but I'm playing the longer term sort of consolidation for the time period, and then maybe it breaks out again mid-year. Obviously, Vulcan Forge. So again, TA works, guys. This is clear evidence. I drew this. I would have drawn this in November 2022, and it did bounce off that support. So that would have been a great long from there. So as you can see, Vulcan Forge bounced off 5.3. It's now back up about 50% already. So that would have been a really good long. Again, this is what I'm looking at for Vulcan Forge. If it can break above that sort of level there at around, 8.4, then I'm maybe more bullish in the short term. But if it doesn't break above that, I would maybe look to maybe even potentially short this back down to retest this level at 7.28, and then maybe see if it holds that level to long it later this year. So that's what I'm looking at there. Let's look at Pepe, okay? That is such an insane chart. Look at Pepe, guys. And I did say this last stream with Craig that we are peppering around so really good breakout zone. So it's really curious to see. And that's what I said to Craig. I said I wasn't sure if Doge or Pepe was going to send. And obviously Pepe has absolutely sent. That's just such a crazy candle. On the weekly, we're up, about a 2.75x, which is just pretty crazy. So good to see. And as you can see here, it's kind of nearly an all-time highs sort of region. So that's one that I would be avoiding. Maybe actually looking to short. And if you're looking to short something like this, it's very dangerous because you don't want to fade the narrative. But you go down to lower time frames. Again, it just doesn't have a lot of history. So again, this is quite a scalp degenerate sort of play. But I'll be looking here for a change in structure. As you can see, we're still very bullish at the moment. We've got lower higher lows and higher highs continuously. So higher, and then higher. So that shows me it hasn't really swapped just yet to maybe more bearish. So as soon as it does, so maybe if this high can't quite get there, maybe a short up there could be an aggressive scalp trade on Pepe. But again, don't fade the narrative, guys. Keep an eye on Pepe because it is quite sending. It is absolutely sending on that weekly chart. So let's look at totals, guys, before we do dive into some of the other plays, so some other meme coins and that sort of thing. So let's have a look here. This is such an aggressive chart. As you can see here, this is total crypto market cap, and we are seeing quite a breakout at the moment. Again, that was really good to see that. And again, we had to break that 1.65 level, trillion level. And Craig and I were speaking about this for weeks. If we can break that, we will absolutely send because that is such a big resistance and support zone, as you can see here from 2022 and from 2021. So I'm looking at this. I'm looking at, maybe it does start to cool off at the moment around this sort of period between 2.35 and around 2.15 where it currently is. So that's what I'm looking at the moment on total crypto market cap. Again, let's look at altcoins only. Altcoins only, very aggressive here. Very good breakout here. Again, it's probably not as aggressive as the whole crypto market cap because BTC is taking a lot of charge at the moment. But again, really good to see here, and that's good for your altcoin bags. And that's why I hold a lot of altcoins as a more aggressive trader. But I do hold a lot of altcoins because I do think they do outperform a lot of other tokens in this cycle. All right, outside that, guys, that's probably the only tokens I'm looking at there. Let's start to look at obviously some meme coin play. So obviously, if you are new here, please support me by liking this video, guys. It does help the algo recognize me. And then obviously, please subscribe if you're new here on YouTube, and give me a follow if you are on Twitter. It does help me grow as a content creator. So let's move to meme coins. Okay. Just pulling that up now. Let's see if it works. Yep, amazing. That looks good. So Myro, Tyler, thanks for asking that question. So if we look at Myro, guys, again, for me, this isn't a chart that I'm very bullish on at the moment. There's a lot going on. So there's a breakout there, breakdown there up the top, okay, as you can see. But again, this is maybe a potential. Let me clean it up a bit so it's a bit cleaner for you guys. But this could be a really good potential double breakout. This is what I'm looking at. So double bottom. Oopsies, that's a bit aggressive. So one there, break up to the neck. Second there, it is a high low, which, yeah, it is a high low if you look at that one, but it is probably a high low there, or it's an equal low, which is good to see. So maybe this does look to maybe send over the next couple of weeks. So again, we're looking at that sort of breakout play there. Again, I'm not bullish until it probably breaks out above that level. So we're at about 95 million at the moment. If it can break out, hold that, and then send, that's what shows me more bullishness. However, if it can't hold this sort of level at 95 and it does break down below, then that sort of neglects that whole double bottom setup that I just showed you. But if it does break up, can hold that 95 level, that would be a move at about 40%, okay, of Myro. Let's look at WIF, because WIF hit a new all-time yesterday when I was looking at it. If it wants to load, let's see if it wants to load for me. I might just have to type it in. All right, gonna have to type them in, which is a shame. Oh my gosh, WIF has absolutely sent. I think I literally looked at this yesterday at 580 mil. So it's gone up 200 mil in a day. That's incredible. So obviously WIF is pumping. It's up 30% for the day, which is crazy. Let's look at Bonk. So 1.64, great. We call Bonk in my group just yesterday. Actually, we caught this breakout of that consolidation range. As you can see here, it pumped crazy, guys. So it pumped up like a 3x in the space of a couple of days. But as you can see here, it needed to cool down, and we are starting to see it pump up. We got in around that 1.3 billion mark from memory. So it's good to see it's up around maybe 20% now. So I think we're in around there. So it's up, 25%. So that's good. Great swing trade. I would like, and I think based on Pepe, based on WIF, I think Bonk sets a new all-time high. Maybe in the coming months. I do think it's this level here for me that is quite a large level. So that's around that sort of around that 2.2, 2.3 billion mark is what I've been looking at in the short term as a newer high. So maybe it sends up here, consolidates, and then breaks up higher again later in the year. But that's what I'm looking at for Bonk. So really good to catch that one. Let's look at GME. That's one that we were trading this morning as well in my group. Let's have a look. All right, so as you can see here, GME has obviously broken out. We traded this one quite aggressively a few months ago, all the way up to 100 million, I think it went to. So let's just go to the daily. Might be a bit of a nicer chart. So it's not the best looking chart, but it had found a sort of support on a lower time frame. So again, this is why it's always good to check multiple time frames to see whether something's bullish or whether something's bearish, and then go from there. But if we look at the 4-hour chart, guys, you can see here that it did actually hold this support level of, I think I'm going to say that was around that sort of 10 million range. And as you can see here, it held that level. It now has broken up. What I'm looking for is a change. Well, this has shown me a change of structure. So very similar to how I trade altcoins, but this is meme coins. We've seen that it now has set a higher high compared to this. It set another high. It set another high. So that's great to see. But as you can see here, it's set at a higher low, and higher low. So that's always positive until it does maybe set a lower low or a lower high. That's where I would maybe look to take some profits off the table. But again, this is showing me some good strength. What I would love to see is an increase in volume down the bottom, because that will help it go back towards those sort of 20 million to 50 million range. In the short term, I'm seeing maybe 30 million is a good target. So that's about a 2x still from current positioning. So that's what I'm looking at there. All right, guys, just going to have a quick drink break. Just a reminder, I won't be streaming for too long today, as I am in a different country and I'm still trying to adjust to all of the timeframes and all that type of stuff. But yeah, thanks for being here. So GME, that's probably the only one I'm going to check at the moment. We can look at when, because it has been, it's obviously trending up the top. It's at 90 million. So let's have a look at this chart. I haven't looked at it for quite a while, but meme coins are back, guys, as you can see here. So this is what I mean. I haven't been trading meme coins actively for a while because there's been no liquidity, there's been no interest. A lot of people, unless you get in really early, actually lose a lot of money, okay? The second pumps weren't happening on Solana like they were a while ago. that we are starting to see liquidity move back to meme coins. So that shows me, okay, I now shift back into that market after having a few months off, because that's how I like to trade, guys. NFTs were huge. NFTs have been on a crazy tear, and we're about to look at them very shortly, but this is what I like to look at. So as you can see here, we have broken out of that sort of triangle zone down the bottom for when. So again, we're starting to retest previous highs. If we can break that, hold that, I think maybe it does look towards a new all-time high in the coming months. All right, so let's move to NFTs, guys, because this is a quick stream. I've got to go through everything really quickly. But let's look at NFTs. This is obviously 24 hours, but let's go to the week. We're seeing that Ethereum's taking up quite a lot of volume sales. BTC is quite a lot as well. Ordinals have been on a crazy pump. If you look at that, 111% increase in volume on BTC. Now, you got to remember too, a lot of people are fading BTC as a narrative for trading NFTs / ordinals. For me, please spend some time learning how to do it, because you are missing out on some serious potential gains over on BTC, because BTC obviously has so much money on it. It has incredible whales from people that bought way before me and you were ever in crypto. And I'm talking earlier than 2016. So for me, you don't want to be fading that sort of money, that potential on there. We've seen OMBs run up to nearly 1 BTC from half of BTC. We've seen puppets run up for 0.04 BTC to 0.17 BTC. We've seen node monkeys pump from about 0.2 to 0.4. So we're seeing a lot of 2x's in the space of like a few days, guys. Obviously, puppets, I'm part of the puppets community. They're up about 4 to 5x at the moment. So we are seeing, as you can see over here, a lot of potential in that capacity. So if we look at ordinals, this is going to take me to the puppets page, but 24 hours, we're already back up towards that sort of all-time high range. But look at this chart, guys. You can't fade a chart like this. Oh, it's not going to work for me. Come on, work for me. No, it doesn't want to work for me. Okay, that's all good. If we go back, there we go. So it's going to show me on the small time. But if you look at this, guys, that's a week chart, okay? Don't fade charts like this. That's the month chart. That's what it looks like on puppets, and a very similar chart for a lot of other things. Now, obviously, the ETH marketplace, that's going to be huge for Magic Eden, and hopefully I get a few diamonds, because I used to trade quite a lot on Ethereum. But again, that was on OpenSea, so I'm very curious to see how this actually plays out in the short term. But if we do look at get off my screen. Maybe I can claim that now. Maybe I'll have to claim that in a bit. But if we look here, guys, Quantum Cats have gone back up. That's nearly about a 2x from where they went down. Node Monkeys are similar sort of chart. So if we zoom out to the month, again, look at that chart, guys. So I think we're still very early for Ordinals. I think Ordinals have a lot of potential. We're seeing mainly puppets, Node Monkeys, and OMBs. So OMBs, again, same sort of thing. Obviously, they're a lot less liquidity. Look at that grind up over the past month. Look at the last 3 months. That is such a bullish chart. That reminds me of like probably Ape's last cycle in 2021 on ETH. So I definitely think that's one that you don't want to be fading, is the trade of BTC ordinals / BTC NFTs. If we look here, guys, we're having some degen mints really starting to play out as well. So these are Wizards of Odd that came out a while ago. If you caught them at 0.001, you're up bloody 3 to 4x already as well. Plus, there's so many others more recently in the group that shout out to Craig who shared them as well. Taproot Punks are another one. Also, what's this other one that I'm looking at right now? The Radbro. So Radbro is another one that I've been looking at as well, that you are just starting to see a lot of these sort of degen plays on BTC play out. And at the end of the day, guys, if you can trade on BTC and make more BTC, that's a no-brainer, okay? It's the same as trading on ETH. It's the same as trading on Solana. Just because it's slow, just because there's a lot of friction, doesn't mean that there are so many potential gains on BTC. So that's what I'm looking at there, guys, which is great to see. My preferred wallet, great question, Tyler. So my preferred wallet for BTC is Xfirst. It's super easy to use. Let me show you. Oh, no, it's not going to show you on the screen, but Xfirst is my go-to. Super easy to use. Highly recommend. That's the one that you do check out. Let's move into Solana NFTs, and then we'll move to ETH NFTs to wrap it up today, guys. And then obviously we'll touch on Portal at the end, and we'll touch on PNB Mint at the end. But for me, guys, obviously Mad Lads, I did call them at about 145 to 155 as a potential good trade. They swung up to about 205, so that was about a 50 Solana move in a couple of weeks. Obviously, I still think this is the best collection to be having on Solana. Listed supply is down below 300, which is crazy. Holders is also very much on the increase, nearly up to 60%. Definitely for me, it's the premier collection to have exposure to on Solana. Obviously, Klanos is another one we've been looking at. Parcels up to 22 Solana. That's crazy. We got in at 3 Solana, so that's up 7x as well. I already traded out of that. Magic tickets, we got in at 2, traded them to 4 previously, but they're also up. So it's all about those sort of flips on Solana to obviously then get into your conviction plays. So for me, that's definitely Mad Lads. It's Badogos as we start to see those boys bring out a few more merch side of things. So obviously you've got the skate decks that are coming out, which is pretty dope, not going to lie. Shout out to the Nifty Boys for doing that because I do think that's pretty cool. But that's, again, if you want access to that, you got to buy a Badogo or you got to buy a Portal. So those are the ones that I'm looking at. Clanosaurus is definitely one. Again, it's a very long-term play. I think Clanosaurus doesn't play out very bullishly for another year or year and a half. That's why I would say that. But outside that, guys, Kanpai Pandas is the last one that I want to speak about. I picked this up the other day at about 83. There's a huge discrepancy between the Ethereum collection that pumped to about 3.8 Ethereum, and this one was down about $2,000. So again, there was that arbitrage sort of opportunity for me to get into this collection at a lower entry price. Obviously, I prefer to trade on Solana at the moment, so it was a no-brainer for me to get in at about 83. They did pump to about 110, and as you can see, they are back down at 100. I still think this is a great trade. Icebags is doing crazy utility. The podcast, the media side, what he's doing at the platform to use for Kanpai Pandas, it's a really good collection for me, and I do think these do start to continue to run for a long time. And again, you could have got these at quite a low price. As you can see here, they're up nearly 50 Solana in the past couple of weeks. So that's great to see. And I do think this one plays out very bullishly in the long term. So those are the ones that I'm looking at on Solana. Outside that, let's move back to ETH. Obviously, the Pudgy ecosystem is really starting to cool down, which is fair enough because they've been on a crazy pump. I do think Pudgy's flip Bored Ape Yacht Club, whether that's in the next month or two or whether that's over the next 6 months, it'll happen for sure. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion, and I will hold this to myself that that Pudgies do flip Bored Ape Yacht Club in the next couple of months. We are starting to see some other players really kick off. Obviously, more recently, we've seen the Personas up at around 0.4, so that's good to see. Wazzies were called by Harvey in my alpha group. Shout out to you, Harv. He called them at 0.7. They pumped to 2.4 nearly actually, just yesterday. So that was a crazy 4x in the space of a week, guys. So shout out to Harvey for that trade. That was a simply amazing trade. Creeps was obviously called. I called that at about 2.5 ETH. They're up to about 5 ETH, so that's about a 2x at the moment. But again, Portal coin is on the horizon, and this is what I'm looking at. So it drops as of tomorrow, 10 a.m. UTC time. This is huge. This is a liquidity injector for the space. So I'm very curious to see how this plays out in terms of so many different collections on ETH, but also liquidity moving into ETH NFTs or other altcoins, or whether it goes to maybe some ordinals potentially, or maybe it goes into Solana ecosystem. This is what you have to track on chain to make sure you stay up to date. Currently, lots of people are going to make a lot of money in Portal. As you can see here, it's at $14. Before being released, man, people are going to make so much money. So people are going to dump this token straight away for liquidity. So I'll be definitely keeping an eye on that, guys. But the reason I bring up Creeps is because they do have some Portal allocation, which is why they have pumped quite aggressively. Outside that, they are a fantastic collection for other reasons. I have obviously sold one of them. I still own one Creep. Whether I flip this soon or whether I flip this later in the year, I will have to see. Outside that, guys, we have seen that over the past sort of 7 days, they're starting to see a bit of pickup across the market. So Miladies are up about 50%. Pandas on ETH, as you can see here, up at 3.8 ETH, up 50% as well. So it's good to see a lot of different plays. Obviously, the Remilio are also up about 50%. So Captain's up to 5.5. So we're starting to see ETH NFTs really starting to cook, okay? Now, for a big reason, I am still using Blur. So I'm actively farming bids, I'm actively farming listing points, and I'm still holding my Blur staked on the platform for that airdrop, which is now only a couple months away, okay? And I think that is still being slept on, and I think that's a great potential for an easy play for an airdrop in 2024. So Blur is my preferred platform to be trading these on. As you can see here, the collections such as Yuga and DGod/Utes, that there's still a lot of ambiguity around what's happening there, what's actually the bull case for those two collections. So I'm keeping an eye on those as potential to trade in, trade out, swing trade. But at the moment, I'm not really looking at those. In terms of mint and flips on ETH, it's just not really happening that much anymore. Obviously, we've seen a few more recently. I think it was the Nobodies was also one that pumped up to nearly an ETH as well. But for me, it's if you want to be doing mint and flips, that's on Solana. Um, and BTC at the moment in the ordinal space, okay, like some of those collections I spoke about earlier, ETH just is a bit quiet in the NFT space on that side of things. However, the premier collections on all three blockchains, so that's Solana, ETH, and BTC, are where you want to be placing your bet. So if you are priced out of that, because I know a lot of people are, and they get angry at me because I share some of these plays, but you got to remember, man, at the end of the day, so many people have different liquidity in their wallet. So I've got a company trades for all different types of traders. And obviously, it's taken me a long time to get to where I am. And I'm super proud of my journey. And again, I've learned a lot of lessons along the past 8 years in crypto. And what has gotten me where I am today is learning all of those lessons to potentially, obviously, have a bit more liquidity to trade in and out of these higher conviction plays. But for me, apes, I'm priced out of apes and priced out of pudgies. But there's some other plays that you can sort of flip some of those mid-level plays. So a couple of creeps. If you bought 3 creeps at 2.5, you're up to 7.5 ETH. All of a sudden, 7.5 ETH goes a lot further than 2.5 ETH. Okay, so these are the sort of plays that you need to think about. Same again, if you're flipping some of those WASIs, you could have bought 3 WASIs for 2.1 ETH and flipped them up to 2.2 ETH each. So you would have flipped you would have flipped 2.1 ETH into 6 ETH in the space of a week. So this is what I mean. Like, try and grow your portfolio in different ways like that, okay? Because I do think that they have the potential to run really hot. All right, guys. So outside that, I've touched on a lot of different things this stream. The last one that I want to talk about is obviously a really hype mint, okay, and that's PMB. So essentially what these look like is a combination between the puppets and also the OMBs on BTC. I think this is obviously probably the biggest hyped mint that I've seen for a while on the space. So these are some details. Shout out to Craig for putting it really simply. Okay, I did reshare this earlier on my Twitter if you want to check it out. Obviously, the account here is MK Ultra BTC. That has gone up. This account has gone up about 15K followers in the past couple of days. So definitely think this has a lot of potential. But as you can see here, obviously, if you're a holder, the snapshot was taken a couple of days ago, so you get a free mint. If you got on whitelist in particular ways, you obviously get a really cheap mint, and then obviously there is a public phase at the end that you can get into if you don't have the ones above to mint this. I do think this cooks. I think I might be looking to pick up some on secondary if they come out not too hot. So I'm very curious to see how it plays out. But again, super cool art. The mint process is really clean. The prices are very fair. And that's what I love about BTC. These things really do cook quite aggressive. So that's one that I'm looking at the moment in terms of BTC as a trade and as a mint and flip. But that comes out as of the next 24 hours. I'll be looking to mint that. So guys, obviously, thanks for being here. It was a quick stream, so definitely recap. If you've only just joined at the end, please like the video. It does support me as a content creator. I will be trying to do my best to stream as regularly as possible across wherever I am in Europe. I'm in Norway for the next few weeks, so that's super exciting. And I'll try and get you some short form content. I'll try and get you some longer form content as well. But thanks for being here. It really is a pleasure to bring this to you. And hopefully I can do this every week. Just depends what's happening. And more so around my internet connection, because that's probably the most limiting factor. So thanks for being here, guys. I do appreciate it. Subscribe if you're watching here on YouTube. I do bring a lot of content to the space, and I will try to keep that going as well as the videos on the side of as well as the streams. But obviously, if you're watching here on Twitter, thanks for your support. Please give me a follow, and also please like the video here on Twitter as well. Thanks, guys. I'll be back soon, and thanks for being here. I really do appreciate it.